Good evening, everyone. This video is going to be a trading review and support session for October the 18th, 2023. Well, the market was kind of in a weird mood today. There wasn't really too much news. There's a little bit news at 5:30 and nothing else pushing it around. And I was talking about this pre-market and too bad I didn't pay a little bit more attention to my own advice. Notice how all the moving averages were basically very close together, a signal that there really isn't any strong trend going into the pre-market. The market was down at the around the open as we can see, but it had just kind of flattened out. So I wish I had followed my own advice a little bit and let it develop a trend. So because you get some of these things sometimes, right? So you get kind of whipsawed. So immediately after at market open, right, it kind of came down and was holding the 3-minute moving average and had a big bar up, right? So and it's a 5x accumulation bar. So my finger reacts to the big bar, and so I go long. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to whipsaw back and forth of this area, of which it did. So I didn't get out of the long. I comment on this a little bit later on at the end of the session. I was a little bit too aggressive on ads today. So here's an early ad, again, trying to get it back up from this area. It held the 3-minute moving average area again, and had given a couple of up bars, so I had an early ad. But as you can see, I was against the fastest flex as it was still coming down from this peak that it had made over here. So that didn't work, and then it comes down, and then it kind of jukes me out. So I ended up reversing from my 2-unit long position in this area. So now I'm short. And it's just one of those days, right? So it's still not strongly trending, even though we are underneath VWAP and underneath 2x200. And so a reverse. Here's another early add, right? So I add to the short side here, and then didn't get out either. And then it goes up. So then I'm tired of kind of going back and forth. I kind of believe somewhat in the down market. And then it kind of races up, right? So this probably would have been an area if I had waited to take a long, right? So this is coming back over this pivot area that it had made before, and was racing through the VWAP, but it didn't. I'm still short. So I'm waiting and I was kind of telling you, I'm kind of waiting, right? I can't hold on here forever, and this happened in another trade as well. So I let it pop up to the 635 kind of area, and it's in the EMA zone. And typically, if I certainly didn't want to reverse, because reversing up in this area, thinking it's going to continue when there isn't any news to drive it, would have been disaster. So when it pulls back down, I added a couple to it. It came back up, and when it was really starting to come my way, right, I added a couple of more to it and got out. Got out of about half here. I did originally have them spread out a little bit more, but since it's bounced a little bit and it bounced around the volume point of control, I went ahead and moved my exits up, my remaining exits up, and got out of those here. So as a total of all that, so the loss here, and then from the reverse short here and adding to it, aggressively, I was down a total of 3 ticks. All right, gross. All right, so I kind of lived through that. It continued to come down in a negative fashion, right? It's coming back through here again. I was a little nervous about it, but I got a single unit trade there and was out. At least I was back into the positive on a gross basis. And so I'm licking my wounds here a little bit, but at least I haven't lost at this particular point in time. And so I don't think I called this trade. I wasn't in complete revenge mode, but it did come back up to the EMA area. I took a short, even though it was a little bit aggressive. It had bounced off the previous Globex low, and I got out prior to it hitting the Globex low. So that, I don't think I called that trade. I thought it was pretty aggressive. A little bit of a revenge trade. And let's see. So here's another. So this one I pushed it right. It's, oh no, wait a minute. Here's the first entry. Too aggressive. So didn't take it until after it had a big bar, made a new low, and it's in the 6:45 time frame, right? In the mid half hour, which is what I kind of call it, and sometimes it kind of pop up, and it did, right? So again, here's another example. Even though it's from a relatively good area, from it came back up to the EMA and was still underneath the slow flex. I added to it here. A little aggressive because look at the ultra flex and the new flex, right? So a little aggressive there. So I finally let it come up and roll over, right? And I added to it here, and from all that difference, let's see, I don't think I added anymore, but I'm not sure. But I was out here, right? With some profit as well. And so this is just sort of the theme for today. We weren't having a whole lot of fun, even though if you're really, so I'm kind of waiting. I didn't trust this trade. I mean, I said when it was right here, it looks like it wants to break out. Excuse me just a second. Needed a drink of water. I was watching this and it looked like it wanted to break out to me. I mean, it had coming from the a double bottom, the all session low, had expansions coming in. It was with all the flexes. It kind of looked like the price action wanted to break out to me, and it did. I did not take it. I was kind of a little bit worried about that point. And then, but I took it on the second round. 5x Renko, take it here, had to add to it as it's trying to break out of this area again, and got out prior to the 3-minute moving average. And it's a good thing because here it comes down. Didn't take the short. So I'm positive for the day at this point, but it's just kind of one of those weird kind of days for me anyway. I didn't trust it again, did not take any longs, and then in this push as well. I mean, here's all that junk again, and as you can see everything is right on top of each other. And so I got into one more difficult trade. I guess here's an easier one. Oh, as it's breaking down, I first entered here as it was willing to break through the volume point of control. Had to wait a little bit, but got out without adding to it over there. And then here was, I'm not sure what I'm thinking here, other than it's back into this area, and looks like this was a bad trade. I didn't realize how bad. Oh, 718. Oh, no. Hang on. I have to say that is a horrible first entry. But nope, I went a little bit on the aggressive side here while it was under everything, and it wouldn't come back out. I can't remember where my exit was trying to be, but I didn't hit the exit. And then I added to it here. Again, this was a pretty aggressive ad, right? It's a very aggressive ad, even though it was coming through with an expansion and was even giving me a 2-bar combination to the downside. It just and so this is dangerous, right? It just came right back down to the EMA and didn't go any further, and of course it didn't get out. And this is the one that really made me nervous. And this is the one I was watching it closely. If it didn't go my way, I would have closed with a loss for the day. So it pops up again, pretty close to the EMA band, which it hasn't been hitting too much lately. So I at least waited for a while here before I added any more. So now we're got a big bar, no real volume to speak of, no volume indications, but a big bar down. So it's under the new flex and ultra flex. So I added to it here, continued to push down, had an expansion here, added to it here, and now I've got like 4 units, right? And my average is still, at that point, it's still, I needed to get down in here. I needed to break the 2x200. So I'm watching it. This is starting to make me nervous, right? And I said, I can't let it go much further because if it had gone up, for instance, if it had wanted to go up and hit the 25% upper line or the pivot point or something like that, I would have had, in my mind, a maybe an unrecoverable loss, in terms of the day. And I just was watching it kind of carefully. So, so I was asking for a seller to show up. Sellers didn't really show up for a while, but at least it started rolling over again. So it was starting to come my way. So I added again here and added again here on this bar, right? So at least I had some good entries right here, right? And I was able to get out. And I was out of this trade prior to the 2x200, and just think if I had stretched this thing out, then I could have made even more money. So this is my last trade of the day. And on some of these multiple unit kind of trades, I am making reasonable money, even though it's a little bit of a dangerous position when I until you get out of all of them, right? And so, but there's the commission problem as well. So I ended up 9.25 points gross, probably at least 3 points worth of, maybe a little bit more than 3 worth of commissions. So still a positive day, but not a very fun day. And at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm going to check out. I closed up my dome and wasn't even watching this trade, even though it kind of came down, and so I checked out. So again, my message was I was a little bit too aggressive on the early ads and some entries, and we'll have to wait and see what kind of news we have tomorrow morning. I'll try to calm down a little bit, try to watch. I do a little bit better when I'm watching the new flex, a little bit more, especially on the ads and not adding into it if I'm going to let it run against me a little bit and wait. So if you add and it's still running against you, then the pain starts to increase a little bit more than what we would all like. All right, so that's going to be it. So you got to see some of my aggression and how I kind of traded out of it, even though it took a little bit of aggressive trading to do it. Could have made a lot more money if I had just even stretched out some of my exits. But that gets kind of scary. When I get into a position like that, I have a tendency to go ahead and start to grab profits while I can, even though I do kind of spread my exits out just to lighten up, as I call it. So we'll see how that progresses. So anyway, today was a little bit, not horrible, but a little bit scary. I'll try to calm down. All right. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in the trading room tomorrow morning.